Whoa! Good evening, folks. Welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. I've been as rough as a bat's testicles this week, so might not be on the best form tonight, but anyway, never mind. So, you've heard me many times speak about more going on at the other side of Russia, have you not? You have indeed. Many times. We've explored the idea that Stalin created a homeland for a particular bunch. However, I would suggest that was only in order to set up a game that's going afoot as HMS London sails away to another port. Now, it's interesting. Tonight I'm going to introduce you to another researcher called Frances Leader and her work in relation to black nobility. Because she's pretty much come up with the data to show that actually we do know where they're moving to. In the same way as before Napoleon arrived in Venice, they'd up ship and gone. They'd gone to Holland and also to London. So when Napoleon arrived, there were nobody there for him to get, for him to rob, for him to pinch off. But of course, all part of the game, because Napoleon were working for the very same families that we've been looking at for quite some time. So, HMS London, off it's gone, almost. And of course, when I did the John Elm Street Gang report, some 15 years ago or so now, putting that together, I could see pretty clearly that the ship was sailing. And London is not to be any further the capital of finance. As we can see that, you know, you've got this idea, have we not? Because of course it's been pulled together for so many centuries in the West. But the New World Order itself isn't the Western powers. That's just the front, the blank, the fake, to focus all your attention. So you don't actually see that the real New World Order is what they've created in the East. That's the New World Order. That's the monster. Everything that's going on here is about destroying the West. So the ships are sailing to the East. The industry's gone to the East. The tech has gone to the East. Everything's gone to the East. The pivotal point, the facilitator of that, is that little tiny place called Israel. Because they're the ones that have been in everybody's governments, everybody's intelligence, everybody's militaries, crying their little eyeballs out, going, hey, you must help us, you got to help us. Well, busy been spying, nicking, and selling it all, and passing it all on to the new empire over there in the East. So I hope we've got that point across in these live streams over these years. But we found it. We know where the financial centre is going. You see, back in the day, I thought that it would go into Singapore, the financial side of things. Not so. Not so at all. And it fits in with the Genghis, all the garbage we've pulled out, which comes out of the Persian elite, who are the black nobility, who are the Holy See. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've connected those dots now with following this Wise Asylum data. So now we know where they're going. And it's very interesting because, as I've said to you many times, I've gone around all these incoming barbers to have a good look at them. And so many of them come from this place. And it's not Turkey. Oh, by golly. Turkey's just a middleman, pulling it all in to Europe, and has been for a very long time, hidden by the fact that it's a member of NATO. Well, why is it hidden? NATO is the thing that's destroyed everything. It's destroyed our militaries. Completely annihilated our militaries. It's got all our boys out on these little play games. On this exercise they've had going on for quite some time. You know, now they've had NATO armoury and stuff plowing through the south of England, getting people excited. Well, really, no, they're telegraphing you, they're saying, get ready for this. You've got them cycles over there in Davos with this WHO treaty. They've potentially all agreed, the premise of it, of course, wanted to kicking off. UK have kicked off and said, we're not playing out here because we've got to give 2/3 of our vaccines to you. So, that's how much they care about you. They want to ensure they've got plenty here to stick up your ass. But it's all just wind and piss. You know, like I said before, they said it had collapsed, they scrapped it. Bullshit, they were just taking the heat off it. Because they wanted to focus more on the Middle East. More on what Putin, another puppet, is up to. But now we can see that what's actually happening is Putin is actually protecting what is east of Russia. All the NATO bases that we've always believed through all this since 9/11, is to bolster and keep Russia to actually no. All these NATO bases are there, again, like Russia, to stop us in the West moving over to the East when you suss the game. What a fucking mess. What a fucking mess is all I can say. So the plan is, by the end of this month, they're going to sign off this treaty. And then, of course, we've got another particularly interesting set of numerology approaching. Now, I don't know whether there's going to be, but they do like the numbers. Because you've got the 6th of the 6th, and 24, which is 2024, is another 6. So that's the 6th of June. Ooh, what may come with that, I do wonder. Now, it's unusual for them to kick things off like that in June like that. But we're in the unusual time, so maybe, just maybe, like the 322, which we know they always do. The 19th of April gig that they always do. It's potentially, because if they're going to sign off on this garbage treaty and give this genocidal terrorist Tedros full power over your governments, but they're not your governments, have you? They've never been your governments, of course, you know that now. He's going to give it and him full power to decide everything. So, ooh, I say. You know, we've got all these boys coming in on the little dinghies with the nice little life jackets on that they didn't get off the traffickers because they're not being trafficked. Or they are being trafficked, but by your government. Are they the boys that are going to be put on the streets, giving you what you need, getting embedded in, all with lovely, with nice, and then when it's too late, they get guns? Well, it's potentially possible. They don't want to take any orders from you boys, don't they? They don't give a shit about you boys. They're a funny colour. It's always best way, if you're attacking another country, it's always better to have a massive demarcation on colour. You've bagged it straight away. Sides are already sorted. So, you know, and I think Middle East, I don't know what's going on with these efforts. I've heard nothing, save for the fact that it doesn't appear to have happened yet. But then if you look at this treaty thing, this has got to be put in first on it, surely. It's got to be put in first, because then any actions they want to do on a global scale is coming via the United Nations, WHO, which of course is funded some 86% by that psychopath that created an old platform on the internet by forming a virus called Microsoft. And now he's got excited about other kinds of them things as well, but more relative to biology. So, what's the fault? I ask myself. But it doesn't look good. So they've potentially all said, yeah, we like it. But now they're kicking off, oh, well, we don't want to be giving you all our little shots because we've spent money and blah, 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 blah. And we want to ensure our lot get them stuck up their asses. Well, of course, I don't think people are going to do that anymore, are they? Apart from them that are already retarded and are still dancing. They're out of the game anyway, aren't they? They're pretty pathetic and useless and terrified little cowards and all grouping up in the little areas. Come and stay with us, we're all Masonic, we'll look after you. We'll keep you safe from all those psychopaths that we've been pumping in. So there's you got it. So you militia mind, guys. Now you need to start to think. Pull your crews in, get your crews together, make sure you trust them, make sure you weed out anybody that's not secure. And just start to be ready because things are going to change, I think. Your farmers are happy farmers, you're still busy trying to get everybody to back them, knowing full well they're actually the problem. Not the small holdings, they're not the problem. They're being bankrupted all over the show. Your big boys. Your big boys are the tenants for the crown. 3-year gig, signed off, we won't do anything. We'll just buy new tractors. And then we can take them out on the street to excite the masses to go, yeah, big on the farmers, we're fantastic. Look at our brand new machinery. Because it looks better, doesn't it, if you're protesting with brand new machinery. So, John Deere's making a fortune. Of course, you buy John Deere, you don't own the vehicle. And they do, because you're using their software. And so you're paying a lot of money, or the subsidies you're paying for that to John Deere so it can control your machinery, just to ensure that if you do decide to start farming, they can just switch it off. Then you see the gig. So it's all going down and people are still pissing around watching telly and Eurovision Song Contest and all that like it. I mean, obviously I don't watch telly and I don't watch that shit, but obviously I'm seeing bits and bats of it coming up on the old Twitter. What kind of people are involved in this now? They all look like freaks. Is there any sensible one amongst them? The only one that looked sensible was the one that everybody's been kicking off about. Because it just happened to represent that little tiny place over there in the Middle East that's causing chaos and committing genocide while still crying about 1940 and going, no, you must let us do this because look what happened to us. You gotta let us do it. And people are still going, yeah, let him do it. How dare you not? I mean, it's just quite ridiculous anyway when you think about it, because you've got people really solidly believing that, oh no, we must look after the Israel because otherwise they're going to run off and leave us. Well, they're going to run off and leave you anyway. As we're going to explore tonight. The ship is sailing, ladies and gentlemen. Which is why they're happy to let London die. Yeah, and the Arctic is dying. It's all going to be kicked in because they've filled it full of fruit bats. They filled it full of fruit bats. Your mer's still a fruit bat. Although I found something on Twitter which suggests that they've found a bit of a blank and that at these voting gigs they were using pencils. And lo and behold, there's been lots of little flea bags there rubbing it out. Rubbing out the old cross, the pencil and sticking it into the one. And apparently the machines have not been noticing this. So whether that, I've heard nothing more about that, nothing seems to have come of it, but if that's the case, oh dearie heck. Oh dearie heck, indeed. And of course that little critter wants more of the fruit bats to come in because they need more fruit bats. Because the ship is sailing. So, don't know what they got planned. Looks a bit odd to me. But thank God that's just happening in the old cities where you've got particular temples there preaching garbage and saying, you don't want to be praying in the temple, go and do it on the floor outside. Do it on the train. Do it anywhere, everywhere. Football stay everywhere. Just do it everywhere, but you can't do it in this temple anymore. So there we go. That seems to be the gig going down everywhere. But now we can have a look and see, where's it going? Where's it going? Well, my goodness. And it's interesting as well, because when you actually look now, having seen her data, and then just looking back the last few years, the power that they've put behind this gig that they're setting up in this particular place is absolute. So absolutely, that's where they're going to stick it. But they wouldn't be doing shoot to kill policy, which is what they did. when the nation itself decided, we're not playing this game. Well, you protest, you got shot. They blew the shit out of you. Or the Russians did. You see, this is the game. Putin is no enemy. And as I've said, you can see clearly now, Putin's a buffer, and so are the fucking NATO bases. Everybody believes they're against. No. Oh, no. 2 fronts to buffer, to stop the West crossing over that airspace, that ground, and getting to the new base. Well, let's blow that out of water. We like breaking spells here in the Wise Asylum, so let's make sure everybody knows. And if everybody knows, let's make sure you military boys, when they're packing up your Typhoon and your F-16s, pretend. You've got to pretend now. You've got to pretend. You've got to be spies. You've got to pretend like in Second World War. Now you've got to behave like that. Because when they load you up and you're saying, go and hit that over there, go, fuck that, that's where we're going. And you need to start bombing the living shit out of this because they're running off. All these little families that we've been looking at lately, they're all running off into a new little orbit. Could be all. And it's been formed since Stalin. And probably even before. And they mean it. It's not a joke. It's not pretend. It's what they're doing. So you boys that we paid for to train you to fly these super jets, when they load you up, we'll have to start considering, well, hang on a minute. Now that we know where the real enemy is based, fuck you, Mr. Commander, turn your radio off and off you go. Boom, 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 boom. Of course, we're being facetious, but that's the kind of mindset that's going to have to change now, ladies and gentlemen. Because they're playing for keeps. They're playing for keeps, and there's still far too many coward, fruit bat, crazy people sucking it up, lapping it up, watching telly, and believing the gig. And that we must, because they're going to save us. No. They're the ones that hate you. They're the ones that have just tried to get you to commit Harry You need to start to see it this way. This is how they are. This is how they've always been. This is how they've always looked at you. And the fact that the Jews are involved is only a front. They want you to, while you're looking at them, and don't get ourselves to getting excited about it, and they keep telling you this, that, and so on. But they're all Russians. They're not real Jews. So they're just fronting it. And while you focus to that, you're not seeing the game. You're not seeing the puppeteers at the back. But we keep showing you on here in the Wise Asylum. Because we've got all the pictures of them here in the Wise Asylum. Because the Wise Asylum, of course, there's a lot of inmates that have been involved in this a long time. Have been collecting the data. And the Wise Asylum's walls are full of it. Yeah, all our data banks are full of it. The cellars, the attic, the secret tunnels out of the Wise Asylum, all over the shop. It's got all the data. We've got more data than the Vatican archives. Even. So, anyway, there you go. We're going to have a look at where it's going. And then once it's out, we can see. You can further it yourself, because I'll tell you what it is. It's exactly what we're doing. And I didn't even think that this is where we're going to be. Excuse me. Who's joined us for tonight's shindy? I think they've been sending the bad fairies to me this week, because I don't think they were right happy where what happened last week. But remember last week's gig. Don't get into the religiosity of it. This is the only 2 points to take from last week's stream is this. We've all been trying forever and amen, haven't we, to rebut the assumptions. And we've done a fucking good job in a lot of cases. However, there's still something they're holding back that we're not sussing that makes them go, no, presumption hasn't been rebutted. And the fact of the matter is, if we look at what we were last week, there's 2 points on there that's keeping them bedded in. We're in on it, they haven't rebutted it. And that is, according to their gig, we're not pulling in our equity, and we're not in the present. The rest is just supporting that nonsense for the mimic that they've got going in the background. And this is your grandma and your granddad, your aunties, your uncles, civil servants, politicians, councillors, every single fruit bat playing in this system. That's the game they're playing against you. Which is why they're obsessed with that little place over there in the Middle East. Because they're Z'd up. They're all Z'd up. And they're all getting ready for what? Trumpet. The Trump. The Zoroastrian. King Cyrus. Frightening. I mean, they've got the dream team now, the new bunch of tossbags, being led by the fat boy. What's his answer? Vote for Trump. Vote for Trump. I don't like Trump something, but vote for Trump. Elon's an hero. Fucking Neuralink. Just tried it out this week. Stuck it in some hapless dick stain that's got paraplegic gig going on. Well, it's not working, is it? No, they haven't exactly told us to what degree it's not working. But if you look at what they did with monkeys, frightening when they didn't work. So they've kept it a bit quiet as to what's actually happened to the geezer that took it on this week, and it's not working. Scary stuff, that Neuralink. Very scary stuff indeed. So, Lex says, evening Sean, good evening Lex. Mew says, hello, good evening, afternoon, morning to the wise asylum, how do you do, Sean? Rough as a bat's testicles, as I've said. I think you've sent some gremlins, or something. I don't care. Fortune gangster for that shite. Untitled says, greetings Sean and welcome everyone to this live presentation. Remember to inhale, exhale and stay present. Let's rock this. Not in a rocking mood right now, to be honest. I'll give it a shot. Paul says, good evening Sean and fellow inmates of the Wiser Asylum. Good evening to you, Paul. Council watched Liverpool. Yes, the dude's mood pit still looking for someone to Wigan area to connect with for activism kind of thinking, mate. Good evening to you, Council watched Liverpool. Evening, Wise Asylum, she says as well. Good evening to you. Anthony says, good evening. Oh, that shot up. Sean and all, evening, Anthony. PY Music says, evening all. Evening, Paul. Lex says, the air is so polluted, I've had a yellow dust all over my car, and in the distance, everything is muggy. Well, I, just last week, got up, went out, and there was a strange odour in the air. A very strange odour. So whether they've been spraying like berserkers in the night, quite possible, because I'm speaking to other people who have also had respiratory issues. So maybe they had a little jet come over my little pad in the morning and sprayed it stupid, and I got out and went, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, who gives a shit anyway? I'm still here. So yeah, could be. Slipknot says, alright Sean, alright, Slipknot. June says, good evening Sean and chat, evening June. Jerry says, hi Sean, all in the Wise Asylum, love from Dublin, love back to Dublin. How's it going on there? Still, I think they keep shifting them off, don't they, and putting them into even posher places, Arctic countryside, to aggravate the country bumpkins. That's probably got a lot of shotguns out there, haven't you, chaps? If they start trying to bum you, get the Mossberg out, innit? Don't fuck about. Get the Mossberg out, get some SGs in it. Or if you're moulding your own slugs, even better. You can't beat a Mossberg. AGM says, Paul Eaton's brother. Okay. AGM, good stuff. Drew says, evening Sean, good to see you, brother. Hope you're fitting well. Well, I'm here. LFX put in in the Gulf. Hello, LFX. Jace says, I'm lurking. Hello, Jace the lurker. Over there in Oz. Lol, and lurking class hero. Ha ha ha, we like that. Jerry says, hope you're well, lurker, Jace. And Jace says, hi. Andrew Kevin says, good evening to you, Andrew. And Jay says, I'm good, Jerry, after a long time stressed. Good. We're all glad. We're all happy. Unstressed in the Wise Asylum. Let's just crack on. Now then, so just now, last week's timelines. Somebody sent me this gig, which is an image of a Masonic lodge over here in Blighty. And if we just take a closer look, they're using AD 1884, so this was built and set up in AD 1848 rather. And they're given a timeline of AL, which is referencing Lucifer, to 5848, which moves us beyond the Hebrew calendar at 5784. Does it not? Yeah? Have we found the older timeline? The world as they call it. So but mark that down. It's AL, this is Masonic, 5848. Beaten by some degree, because that's 5848 referencing 1848. Yeah, so it's above today's Hebrew count. So we've got to add, well, quite a bit to 5848 to bring us up to the measure today, which I did do somewhere actually. Where have I done that? Anno Lucius it is. Now, when I was studying the Masonic stuff, what they were trying to do were build the system to a time before Lucifer's fall. So maybe that has reference to that they're trying to build. Yeah? So, just to add to last week's, perhaps we found that extended timeline beyond the Hebrew, the Anno Lucius. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. But again, as I said, it's mainly just about trying to work out why it is they keep thinking they're in honour, and that we haven't rebutted the presumptions and assumptions, which is the only authority they've got. Well, if we're not bringing equity in and we're not in the present, that's going to do it for them, isn't it? Because, of course, they're raging fruitcakes and they believe in fantasy because they're making money out of it. So they don't really care about you, they don't care about the grandchildren, the daughters, which, if they were baby boomers, we already know that. They didn't give a shit about their offspring. Why would they change that now? So, interesting photo, interesting data, and that is a Masonic lodge on England, put up 1848, referencing the year 5848 on the Anno Lucius. So that's way older, is it not, than the Hebrew timestamp, if we're looking for the world that they keep binding us to in all the literature, and that we're not seeing, and therefore always are we in the past. Now, that would make sense again because the Jews are only a front, as I've said, and we're talking about the fake Jews, of course. The real Jews, many of them were killed in the Second World War. You know, so even the Jews, the Hebrews that think they're fantastic and amazing and the chosen, are actually still in the past and so in debt to this uber priesthood. But of course they seem to be happy with that, because they know they're chosen by this priesthood. It's only the lower down clan that think they're actually chosen by some kind of god. But of course, if their god's Lucifer, then they would probably be using the Anno Lucius if they were putting themselves in the present. So that's just an addition to last week's gig. Interestingly, I've put them on the website, those videos, and they're doing exceptionally well. They're getting far more views than YouTube, by far. So what does that tell us? It tells us there is an interest in this data, but by some wizardry, probably the fact that you've got to be 18, you're not getting it out there as much on the old YouTube. So that's interesting in and of itself. I just thought I'd mention. So that's that. Now, what else do we have? So are you telling me that the guy on the left is the same as the guy on the right? Look at the ears. Look at the nose. They're not the same guy. They are not the same guy. 2008, Obama's right-hand man And this thing in 2021. And then, like I say, it doesn't matter which penis you get. Yeah, the fake on the left and King Cyrus on the right. The Zoroastrian. Yeah, Zoroastrian. The guy that built the Second Temple through the captives. And you've got all these fruit bat celebrities baptised into the Alpha course. Growing like wildfire, it says. It's not surprising therefore on mega churches. All Alpha. Yeah, it's all Alpha that they're baptising you to. So that fruit bat celebrity, I forgot what it's called. It says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel across sea and land and make a single convert. And when he becomes a convert, you make him twice as much a child of hell as yourselves. From Matthew 23:15. So your Masons or your Goyim that have jumped into this become twice the version of the child of hell than them themselves. And I think that's quite true, especially when you look at 21st degree Prussian Knight. Kalergi plan for reminding you the genocide of all white people, the future man will be mixed race. As for Pan-Europe, I wish to see Eurasian Negroid mixture with a variation in personality types. The Jews shall take the leading position since Providence God has given Europe a spiritually superior race of nobility called the Jews. The white race of Europe should be destroyed and replaced with a race of Eurasian Negroids, who can be easily controlled by us ruling elite. It makes sense, does it not, they're pulling them in from Africa, because the game is to get the Zionists and the Islamists to annihilate each other. So this gig that the Muslims have got going, that they're going to take over the world and everything's going to be fantastic. Look at the stuff. That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. There's no Asiatic or Arabic faces in that, is there? Yeah, China is the New World Order, and what's it doing with Islam? It's already demarcated in a mental illness, and they've destroyed some 150,000 mosques already. I'm sure they had more gigs in there. Yes, I do. So why is that not moving? Let's just make it. That should be shifting on that. I don't know why it's not. Interesting. Why is that not working? So there's your Kalergi plan. And just to give you an idea that is actually working a treat. In Germany, the Africans are proportionally 40 times to 70 times more involved in gang rapes than Germans. Afghans seem to be the biggest perpetrators at 41%, Africans 23%. Germans themselves 0.6%, which is pretty normal in a civilized country. You're always going to get the odd fruit bat. And 3% of foreigners excluding the Afghans. So there's the data per 1 million. So the Afghans seem to be by far the most disgusting expressions of fruitcake over there in old Germany. Oh, I forgot here. I don't know what's happened to this. Are they attacking my Streamlabs? Migrants accused of live streaming rape of girl won't be deported. German bill seeks deportation of migrant who express anti-Semitism. Conservative legislation be prepared for Holocaust Day remembrance. So they want to deport migrants who are anti-Semitic, but if you rape a German, nobody gives a shit. So you can see why it's so high, and it's yeah, they want it. Kalergi plan. That's the Kalergi plan in action. And in the 1930s, we put 1,100 men into the priesthood in order to destroy the church from within. This is the Catholic Church. Former communist Bella Dodd received back into the Catholic Church with help of Bishops F. Sheen. So bishops level in the Catholic Church has been the means to destroying it. And there you can see, 1,100 men. You can guarantee that that was 1,100 paedophiles. Yeah, so it's not the Catholic Church as a whole. It's the ones that they implanted. Them communist, Bolshevik, crazy people. And it's been reaffirmed again. The Vatican Doctrine Office reaffirms that Catholics cannot be Freemasons. Catholic Church prohibition of Freemasonry dates back to Pope Clement the 12th, who formally condemned it in a papal bull in 1738. And it's been reconfirmed. So Is it the church itself, or has it completely and utterly been took over by the rapists, the paedophiles, coming through Jesuitism? I would say absolutely. Saxe-Coburg and Gotha is a cadet branch of the Wettin, and it became the House of Windsor in 1917 when the English were complaining of the fact that we've got a German bunch on our throne and why we're fighting Germans. Changed the name to Windsor. Battenberg changed the name to Mountbatten. It's how easy the black goes. Question, is the news of Kate's death, I don't know what that word's meant to be, being postponed, I think it is, so as not to draw any suspicion of being linked to the recent and strange and untimely death of close friend and confidant Thomas Kingston, who is married to the Duke of Kent's daughter, but was busy mates with the Middletons. And Camilla, the Queen, the Medici Queen, through the Lennox, Charles II, grants first round of royal warrants to firms, including Fortnum and Mason. So that's running the show. Medici Queen. A Medici Queen. Running the gig. There we go, folks. That's going down right now as we speak. Let me just get rid of that because otherwise I could cause myself some politics. Some problems. David Cameron commits $3 billion a year of your money in aid to Ukraine for as long as necessary. You see, in this game that they're playing in order to buffer in so we can't get over to the side of Russia, what are they doing? They're stealing our breadbasket. So even that idea that the Jews are going to move there, which they are, the real game is to remove the breadbasket from Europe. In escalation of Western policy, the Foreign Secretary said Ukraine had the right to engage in cross-border strikes into Russia, and that the UK would give it $3 billion a year for as long as necessary. Says the Astor puppet David Cameron. And Cameron has urged Hamas to accept a very generous ceasefire deal with Israel that will allow for the release of potentially thousands of Palestinian prisoners. Well, they've accepted it. They've accepted the deal, much to the dismay of Mr. Netanyahu, the Polish boy. Britain must invest in an Iron Dome defence system, former US National Security Advisor said, as he warned that another world war is on the horizon. Yes, they need to kill the blacks, native blacks to the west and the native whites, because they're the ones that are going to conscript. Everybody else is going to go, oh no, again my religion. Europe should consider sending troops to help defend Ukraine if Russian forces break through their defence line. President Strange Power Macron has said. Who is this penis? And you want to go back into Europe, folks? You're off your head. And there it's back to the Iron Dome. There's something definitely gone wrong with my folders in here today. Definitely, unless I've put that in twice. Oh, I think I might have put that in twice. Oh, I'm not on form this week, chaps. But never mind. Pilfering and abusing the public purse has become the norm for these horrid politicians. They're employed by the country to perform certain tasks at which they fail miserably. And for failing, they continue to live in a high life and taxpayers' expense with no repercussions. And he's acting like a Kardashian sister as he hires a 42 million VIP plane. And there he is, the little jock. Humza Yousaf picture debut, House Edinburgh, as he delivered his resignation statement. Apparently they've run out of smack, good quality smack, at the SNP headquarters, so he's left. Is that enough? And slavery did not make Britain rich, finds report. Well, of course not, because all the ships were owned by certain Russian critters. So were the plantations. It was just the odd Freemason and foolish Protestants in there doing a bit out of it, but in the main, nothing to do with us English or Scottish. Rishi Sunak warned against the dangers of shutting down people's views and making people fear speaking out. Well, who's afraid apart from them dance to the dance because they were already terrified cowards anyway. I can't see them changing tack anytime soon. And soon that rising asylum seekers in Ireland proves Rwanda plan having an impact. I think they sent one guy there, and it's a 5-star hotel. And he gave himself up. It may be more gone that, but as far as I'm aware, one guy's gone, he gave himself up, and he's now living it up in a 5-star hotel. Downing Street has offered Ireland the opportunity to join the Rwanda scheme amid a row over asylum seekers fleeing the UK to the Republic. Like that wasn't the plan all along, I would say. I don't like this Rwanda gig, in truth. Boris, the blonde bombshell, has turned away from the polling station after forgetting his photo ID. Boris, you absolute pleb. What's he got a cat on a lead or something? Cats are a ferret. Canadian becomes world's first patient to be diagnosed as suffering from climate change. The big fat Lloyd ass. Look at the size of that. And she's got asthma, diabetes, heat stress, dehydration, some heart failure, no air filtration, and no air conditioning. Oh dearie heck. And London boroughs have stated support for scheme to charge motorists by how far they drive. Oh, there he is. Look at that little shithead. Can't believe nobody's dealt with him yet. There's plenty of prisons in London. Sadiq Khan has dropped his pledge to protect the Green Belt from his manifesto this year, despite promising to create a greener London for everyone. You're going to paint it? You might be painting it. Although this Green Party at the moment is full of they're all fruitcakes, bordering on deviance, I'd say. Humiliation for Sadiq as survey finds people feel most lonely and unsafe in London. What a strange face he's got. I'm just trying to work out what he's got. Big ears, small mouth. Small mouths are very reminiscent of murderers, aren't they? If you go back through case files, it's like a signature. Oh, look at what them naughty Southerners have done. And they've even put daffodils in it. Them Southerners are doing a good job. They're very, very naughty. We obviously don't condone such behaviour up here in the north. Being lovely people, and certainly not up for any kind of naughtiness like that. Because, of course, the Northerners are now all cowards. Oh, look at that. Got my son. Bloody bad uns, them lot. Them's the Lido things, aren't they, them? So they take it Lido down as well. How naughty are them Southerners? I hope there's no Northerners watching and thinking they might copy. I don't think it's going to happen to you Southern boys because they are all pussies up here now. Oh dear, these only got Lulas put on a couple of days ago and were fine up till then. I think they catch the flu. They had the flu and they've keeled over, it would appear. They're brand new as well. Oh dear heck. So there must be a big bet of tech flu going on in London, I think. Adults start to become lonely from around the age of 50 after a flurry of social activity in early middle age, scientists have found. Well, not so sure that's correct because they're all shagging each other and getting STDs left, right and centre. So maybe that's a bit of a fib. They're just keeping quiet about it. But as I get, they're all my age, my generation, all divorced. And here she is out begging. She's got a 700k tax bill after raiding the pension. Well, tough shit, girl. You took him private. You spent a fortune while you were holidaying on the beach, wherever you took him. I forgot where they were now. Pay for it yourself. You better get off street, girl. In fact, start your own My Fans page as some OnlyFans and get your kit off. Oh, look at them two. A terrorist and a terrorist. By golly. Power. That's what they see. Power coming our way. Ooh. There he is, the genocidal guy. I think somebody's actually brought a case against him. Britain's refused to sign the WHO's pandemic treaty whilst it insists the UK would have to give away a fifth of its jabs. The Telegraph understands. this is true. It's about time this country stood up to the WHO. So on the one hand, you've all got to think, oh yes, because we want to keep them. And this is what happens if chemo is spilt on your hand, ladies and gentlemen. Also remembering that the trust gets 40 grand every time they get one of you sad dumbwits to take it on. And that's what happens if it gets on your hand. Ooh, burny, burny. Not very nice. And just to remind you that if you're getting excited about the other bunch of tossers, there he is, but on the left he's being brought up by the known bummer of children and dead people. Best mates with Charlie Boy and all the celebrities of the 70s. Cameron commits 3 billion, we've done that, so we're back to the beginning. You're paying 3 billion a year, folks, whether you want to or not. Bill Gates, former doctor, says billionaire refused to do the deed to his own flea bags. Why? Why would he do that? Why would you do that, Billy Boy? Any ideas, chaps? It's a bit naughty, isn't it? It's a little bit naughty. Obama defends New York Times, MSNBC, Pakistan News rather. They're not going to just make stuff up, says the pizza boy. He's right. Both of those outlets are immaculate records, as long as you don't count genocide, denial, and we do WMDs in Iraq and Hunter's laptop. A photo of German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and French President Emmanuel Macron, along with their very, very odd-looking wives with winkles. What the hell has happened? Gas stoves increase nitrogen dioxide exposure above WHO standards, study reveals. Oh dear. WHO standards. So it's all about what are the standards that the WHO are setting out. Because once they get this gig in place, they're coming for your gas stove. And China says the United States' days of bullying the world are coming to an end. Yes, because they're funding you to take and be the real New World Order. You're just waiting in the wings, aren't you, there, Z-Boy? Huh? Look at him, looking like he's something. I'm good. And this is German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, wife with Winkle. They're not even hiding it now, are they? With Winkle and titties. That's just greedy, if you ask me. And Samsung has withdrawn its operations from ISIS Raw L. Apparently. Samsung, where's that? Is it Taiwan or is it Singapore? It's not Japan, is it, Samsung? ADL urged Congress to pass FISA law spying on Americans to protect Israel. One of the first laws passed by Lenin's new communist regime in 2017 was the Anti-Semitism Act, which made it a crime to even criticise. Punishable by death or a Siberian gulag sentence, it's time to criminalise the ADLs. And Trump wants you to have your head chopped off. Why is this man head of the World Health Organization? He's not a doctor, he's a member of the Tigray People Liberation Front, which was classed as a terrorist organisation by the United States government in the 90s, and he's still catalogued today as a member of the Global Terror Database. Tedros Adhanom. And time, if he wins, Friday, November 26th, to Monday, 27th of May 2024, is the JFK assassination timeline, they say. Oh, the heck. Are they going to shoot the Cyrus? Well, if he's really King Cyrus, it has to be a bird that kills him. US won't guarantee Australia will have complete control of AUKUS, which is pretty much guaranteed they won't, because you won't have the codes to press the button, because they can't have you all nations deciding, well, we don't like any more bomb. No. The entire gig is paid for us, by us. Somebody made a bit of a cock up there on the old chink Sputnik gig because they've forgot to check out the man that's still obviously stood there at the bottom of the rocket. What do you think? And Neil Armstrong's boots, actually, that are there for you to see at the museum, don't look like the same boots that he had on the moon. Or are they telling fibs? Or have they made a big mistake? I don't know. And back to the old Billy Gates, whose former doctor says Billy Boy said a big nay when it comes to his own little strange creatures. Now then, so there you go with that lot. Now, Argentina's president pledged his roadmap for the UK to hand over the Falklands, is what he said last week. So last week, no, he wants a roadmap. You are going to give him us back. That's it. And he's converted. He means it. But something might have just changed, because this week, Falklands are still British, admits Argentina's leader. So something's changed. I think his conversion, he's got his bum smacked for being too cheeky, because it would give the game away, of course, and they need English fruit bats to keep supporting that bunch of Russians over there in the Middle East. So he's had his bum smacked, he's had to change tack. And there he is now. He's fully on board. Fully on board. And his nose is just strange now. It actually does look like a bit of a cock, doesn't it? Compared to how it used to look before he had his nose done. Sideburns now, hiding it again. You know, making him look like more Western. I'm your friend. I did the 60s and I'm a hippie. Kind of gig. Anyway, there he is. The complete fruitcake. So, what we got here? You've been on again. What are you saying? New Laredo. Howdy, good people. Good evening to you, sir. Mark says, hi, Sean and guys. Hope you're all vining high. Vining or vinning. Spot on that, says Jerry. Right. Mew says, so you need your photo ID if Boris does that. If you were daft enough to vote, none of the above gets my vote. I think 60% of them didn't vote. So you can guarantee they all came out of mosques that came to vote, I would suggest. But even them that didn't vote for the little toss bag. Pencils. Let's hope that kicks off, because then it'll show that he's a tosser and he'll be thrown out. Cos says, give me brains. Well, I think the world's running out of brains, chaps. You're better off massaging your own and getting that back in order. June says, Mew Pit, exactly. Does that ring a bell? Papers, please. Absolutely. Jerry says, funny that they adjust acceptable figures to suit the plans. And New Laredo says it's getting tiresome. Absolutely it is. We're in such a crazy situation. These world leaders are insane. And what we have to remember is, exactly, there be the enemy. There is the problem. They're the low-grade numpties making this happen on behalf of the bigger boys, such as we're going to look at now. So this is just another insight again to these families, and specifically how the Massimo family have controlled the London mafias. Massimo family of Rome is said to be the owners of the Clerkenwell crime syndicate in London, also known as the Adams family or 18, for its founders Terry, Tommy and Patrick Adams. Prince Stefano Massimo lives in London, and his mother was Dawn Adams, an English actress that married Prince Vittorio Massimo of Rocco Secca. Now, if you've been keeping abreast with you remember the mergers in 90s of Pat Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe. Now, I remember that happening back in the day, and straight away I knew that weren't no crime mob it, that was police intelligence it, that by a long shot. It was just so obvious. And it would appear now, if you're keeping track with it now, because one of those that were falsely accused and imprisoned for God knows how long, 25 years, 28 years, has been released, but Mickey is not. He still won't accept and admit that he did it, because he didn't. They're still keeping out of him because they're just insistent that he he admits to it when, of course, you get into it in Millie Dowler, the first girl when it took dive. Not Millie Dowler, sorry, the Leah Betts, the first girl that died on the old ecstasy tablet, just happened to be the daughter of an high-end Met copper. So you can see that that's what was going on. But you can see there's a lot of boys that were old boys in London back in the day, and Essex. You know, this is what you need to start to reckon with, you boys, because these are the people that are really running the mafias. These are the people that would carry out these kind of attacks against English boys back in the 90s on behalf of the establishment, who just happened to be part of the Overseas family, specifically in Clerkenwell, the Massimo family. Clerkenwell Crime Syndicate is involved in murder, extortion, drug trafficking and human trafficking. They are believed to be involved with the Brinksmack robbery, consisting of hundreds of millions in stolen cash, diamonds and gold. Yep, because nobody got caught, did they? They don't get the money back, rather. It's possible they murdered the Scottish billionaire Scott Young by throwing him out off a building, while the media claims it was either suicide or Russian mafia. His reported wealth has never been accounted for. The Adams crime family is also allied with the Irish mafia and Arif's Turkish mafia. Danny Morrow is a member of Glasgow gang and ruthless associate of the Clerkenwell Mafia. Danny Morrow, rather. The Massimo family established the Irish noble branch called the Barons Massey in Limerick, where McCarthy Dundon family operate. In Ireland, there is also the international Rathkeil Rovers crime syndicate. As you can see now, Sinn Féin for what they are, can't you? The mafia extorting blackmail politicians, bankers and the media and businessmen. They are covert and use violence. Prince Stefano's mother, Dawn Adams, remarried to Jimmy White. The name White similar to the name Adams, relating to the Adams crime family. Alfred Henry White was at one point an enforcer for Charles Sabini, an English-Italian gangster located in Clerkenwell. Prince Stefano Massimo married the divorced Atlanta Foxwell of England and lives in London today, and the son Prince Valerio Massimo is in business with the Duke Edward Spencer Churchill, running Actus Industries and Aerospace Company. Some of the British nobility double agents serving the British Crown and covertly working with the black nobility of Rome. They use the mafias to threaten and extort politicians, reporters, bankers and businessmen. Even white-collar criminals fear the Black Hands. Prince Stefano Massimo is said to be ruthless, murderous and a terrorist that makes non-stop threats. Don Fabrizio Massimo Brancaccio is the top owner of the Vatican and has high authority over the Sicilian mafia like the Corleonese clan. They own a large fortress in Arsoli and another castle in Campania. The Massimo family use lions of their coat of arms like Corleone. Sicily uses lion on its flag. The Massimo family frequently take the name Leone, which means lion. Brancaccio is a neighbourhood in Sicily where Cosa Nostra originated and named after the Brancaccio family that later merged with the Massimo family. Massimos use violence, threats, terrorism, extortion and blackmail as the primary tools for control. The Massimo family is claimed to be one of the oldest families of Rome and claimed to be the ancient Fabii Maximus dynasty. The names Massimo and Maximus means massive, or the Latin meaning of greatest. The Fabii family were known for using the scorched earth military tactic during the Roman Empire. Scorched earth is a tactic in which they burn everything down that can aid the enemy, like food, resources and people. The Communist Fabian Society uses the wolf in sheep's clothing for its logo and is headquartered in Adelphi House in London, the former home of the Hanoverians, or the Saxe-Coburg Gothas and Battenbergs. Fabi is similar to Fabian. The Massimo family is married with various royal bloodlines including Savoy, Bourbon and Osorio noble families, which have a family branch in Galicia, Spain. The Osorio family use wolves on the coat of arms. Prince Carlo Massimo is married to Princess Elisa Osorio of Mascoso and Estagna. Amencio Ortega is from Galicia and works as a court factor and money launderer for Spanish nobility, including the House of Osorio. Amencio Ortega is a wealthy billionaire, I think it's supposed to be S, and he's said to be worth 170 billion. He owns, he owns Inditex, which with the store chain called Massimo Dutti, which is high in fashion. Prince Stefano Massimo married into the British Foxwell family, and he's a fashion photographer with residences in London. Now, Foxwell has got a lot to do with Fox, so Murdoch. Prince Stefano's mother was English actress Dawn Adams. The Massimo family of Rocco Secca owned the Clerkenwell Mafia of London, also called the Adams crime family, and part owners of various Irish mafia as well. You know, even your Cray twins, now you can see what they were really up against. As long as they see who are Richardsons and Crays, you don't see the bigger game. Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News, is a Vatican Knight of the Order of St. Gregory. Fox was covertly named for Foxwell. The fox is considered a cunning animal. Fox News is a propaganda machine for the Vatican State. Prince Valerio Massimo founded SCM Capital Partners and an aerospace company called Actus Industries with his business associate Duke Edward Spencer Churchill. The House of Massimo and other Italian nobility have infiltrated the United Kingdom and worked with the House of Windsor and some British peers. The Massimo family is married in with the Lucchesio Pale, Savoy Genovese and Bourbon families. All these families are mafia owners. The Massimo family has a close alliance with the Borghese family, with Princess Barbara Massimo Brancaccio married to Prince Scipione Borghese. Now, Scipione is an ancient, serious Roman general, and when you look at his image, which you get in that gallery I've put together, which I'll put on after just to remind you. So keep your eyes on that name, Prince Scipione Borghese, and then you can see him. That guy is a serious general for Rome. Bulgari family and the jewellery company were recently investigated for tax evasion. Some jewellery companies are involved in money laundering by fixing the prices of jewellery. The Bulgari family originated in Bulgaria, which uses the coat of arms with two lines similar to the Massimo coat of arms. The House Massimo is the nucleus of the black nobility. I disagree. I still think it's Pallavicini who are really operating for foreigners, and you've got Maria Camilla Pallavicini, who appears to be the Black Queen, as they call her. It is believed that they have hidden ancestry with the ancient Spanish House of Burgundy. Queen Maxima of the Netherlands claims Burgundian ancestry. It is also believed that Baron August von Senarclens de Grance, who had an affair with Princess Wilhelmine of Baden, was a relative of the Massimo family, and this is why the House of Hesse created the name Battenberg for suspected Senarclens offspring, which later married in with the royal families of Russia, Spain, Sweden and England. Battenberg, of course, being Mountbatten when they anglicised it. Princess Maria of Battenberg's son was named Count Maximilian, and others suspected Senarclens was Princess Maximiliane Wilhelmine Auguste Sophia Maria of Hesse. Prince Carlo Massimo oversees the Sovereign Military Order of Malta as president of the Italian Association of the Order of Malta. The Order of Malta was involved in various wars, and several top military and intelligence leaders in the United States like Alexander Haig, William Colby and John McCone were all Knights of Malta. The Massimo family has authority over a faction of the Jesuits through the Massimiliano Massimo Institute and the former Jesuit Nobile Collegio Mondragon, which had 5 Massimo presidents. Prince Ferdinand Massimo has been an honorary president of this closed college. Mondragon uses a dragon for its symbol. Black nobility used Jesuits as Roman intelligence and infiltrators. The Roman-born Mario Draghi is president of the European Central Bank, and Draghi was educated at the Massimo Institute. Black nobility have control over vast wealth through private Swiss banking. There are 3 members from Rome on the Bank for International Settlements Board of Directors, including Mario Draghi, Fabio Panetta, and Ignazio Visco. Prince Giacomo Massimo Brancaccio, again you can see him, he's married one of the Windsors in that video, worked at Banco Finet, located at Palazzo Altieri in Rome. The Massimo family is said to be one of the founding of the global crime syndicate, and they are involved in every crime imaginable, including war crimes, terrorism, murder, extortion, threats, human trafficking, money laundering, and more. So I hope there's some guys here that were involved in all this Essex game back in the 90s are going to see this is what you're up against. This is what wiped out those 3 boys back in the 90s. Not suggesting they were good boys at all, but they were English. Massimo family also run organised crime in Rome, like the Magliana Mafia, and were once the families behind the neo-fascist group Nucleare Armate Rivoluzionarie, headed up by their agent Massimo Carminati. His family has a portion of ownership over various mafias, including the Corleonese clan, Magliana Mafia, Gambino crime family, Clerkenwell Mafia, Lanza crime family, Philly mob, Irish Mafia, and the Boston crime family. Most mafias pay dues back to the Massimo family through their Corleonese clan of Sicily. Individual mafia families make billions per year. It's believed that the Massimo Palazzo has an underground tunnel connecting to the basement of the Vatican, which is how they have manipulated their control. Massinos have recently married in with the Corpigni Falconere Gabriele family, which function as their support. Members of the Massimo crime family include the following: Prince Fabio Massimo Brancaccio, Donna Alessandra Malessi, Princess Barbara Massimo Brancaccio, Prince Guillermo Leon Massimo Brancaccio, Prince Carlo Massimo, Prince Stefano Massimo of Roccasecca, Prince Valerio Massimo of Roccasecca, that's Foxwell, Prince Cesare Massimo of Roccasecca, Prince Tancredi Massimo of Roccasecca. See, a lot of these names you're seeing, we've got images, which I'll show you again in a minute. Prince Ludovico Massimo Lancelotti, Prince Ascanio Massimo Lancelotti, blah 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 blah. Prince Giacomo Massimo Brancaccio's unnamed father is another high-level and well-guarded member of this family, and possibly living in France or French Polynesia. Current head of the Massimo family is Fabrizio Massimo Brancaccio, Prince di Arsoli and Prince di Trigiano, born 1963. Here he is pictured hosting the annual commemoration of the miracle of Rome. In 1686, Fabrizio took the title of Marquis and assumed the name Camillo, which all princes of the House of Massimo, regardless of baptismal name, must assume when they come into title. In 1733, Filippo Camillo entertained James III of England and the royal court with festivities. Suitable to the rank of such high personages, it is said of the Prince of the House of Massimo that he lived in constant fear of being run over and consequently would never walk upon the street. But by a contraire fate, on returning home from the theatre, he was knocked down by the pole of a carriage, as he was entering his house and killed. Marchese Camillo Massimo in 1817 was the last of the Roman barons to renounce to the pontifical states his feudal rights and full jurisdiction over Arsoli. At this time, Christina, daughter of Prince Severio of Saxony, was married to Marchese Massimo, and naturally the town benefited by frequent visits of many illustrious personages through this royal con. So he handed over. Can you see what seems to have happened when they created the sort of Vatican state? It's like they'd all handed over the pontifical state's feudal rights to this system. So when the fascists came in 29 and created the Vatican state, of which the Vatican's a separate instrument, they sort of consolidated all the power in this new gig. Prince Fabrizio Massimo Brancaccio and Charles, Prince of Wales. Massimo family is married to families Lucchesi, Palace, Savoy, Genovese and Bourbon. All of these families own the mob. Oh, and look. There's a real Charles, and you can see the slit in his chin. Not the Charles we have today, because of course it's all about a Medici queen, Camilla. That's what it's all about. And it would appear that a lot of the royals, the rest of the Windsors, are not happy about this. Maybe we should show them a bit of support. As difficult as that might be, knowing what we know, but even so. So there you've got Giacomo Massimo Brancaccio and Titania Poole de Balcony. De Balcony is very important. Married to Paul Marshall, who's just resigned as a director of ARC, or Absolute Return for Kids, the paedophile ring run by, or a patron being Prince William. So the debulking is very important. We looked at them, and they seem to be tied more to the Spencer Churchill gig down in southern England. I forgot the name of the gig. Shit. Anyway, and there they are. They're at a cocktail party in Paris in 2016. The debulking is tied to GP News through Paul Marshall. Marshall resigned from the paedophile network headed by Prince William in April 2024 because I think he wants to focus more on GB News. They apparently didn't want him to go, but he obviously is seeing GBN News a bit more important for him on a personal level. Or maybe his wife, the debulking is, because they're important. So there's the... You see, you've got to look at these younger ones. These are the new breed coming into play. Of course, they don't have power because the power always remains with the old guard who just sink off into the background. And until these guys become the old guard, that's when they actually do have the power. And that's how these systems work. So there's the new faces that are running this system, but they're not actually running it. Now this is some gig that they had in 2013, Balls des Debutantes in Paris, and there's quite a lot of people in here. Again, faces: Cavaliers Marquess Giorgio San Giusti Taluda, Prince Theodore Ruspoli, HRS Prince Amorai of Bourbon Parma, Prince Giacomo Leon Massimo Brancacchio, Thomas Terry Y Gonzalez, blah blah blah, Sebastian Becker and Anthony Golson. So there they are at this gig in 2013, just coming into their front positions as youngsters. And then you've got the girlies, Lady Amelia Windsor, who's married to, I forgot his name, one of them we've just talked about. And you've got quite a diverse, but then you're giving the names, and then you're giving the what do they call them? Fashion designers. So you get the name of the Fleabag, and then you get the name of the designer whose clothes they're wearing. A note in there, you've got Zita de Hartville in Vivian Westwood's gig. So not very punk rock, Viv. You know, Vivian and Yon Mon, I can't even remember his name. They were running the punk scene. It always was an hoity-toity gig. And there they are in all the glory. Monica Uquergio Zobel, George Pearson. Now Pearson, Malcolm Pearson of UKIP, remember he took over UKIP at the time, Lloyd Monks and everybody were doing the gig against Europe and such. Well, Malcolm Pearson he became the UKIP leader for a time, but the Pearsons were they had Shelmeck's house, which is next door to Adelphi House, and Pearson Publishing. So again, these are just, all these people that have claimed at one point or another to be on your side are actually not. They're just controlled opposition. So there's a young Pearson, George Pearson, with Monica Uquergio Zobel having a bit of a dance there. Robert Kennedy Jr. at the same gig with his daughter Kyra. Oh, he looks like he fits in well, see, with his little voice there to get emotionally involved with him. He's a lovely guy. There's where he plays out. You think he's there for you on your side? And Joseph Kennedy, the second topical authority in the US. They're an Irish-American Roman Catholic dynasty that partly owned the Spillane crime family, which today works under the Westies Irish mob. His grandpa, Joe Kennedy, was a Knight of Malta and a big bootlegger, and his grandma, a Vatican countess. There you go. HRS Prince Amore de Bourbon of Parma and Marquess Giorgio San Just di Taluda of Italy. Another new face, new front gig for it coming in. These are the faces you're going to get to see while the old boys move into the background. House of Kalergi is a Bohemian nobility of the House of Habsburg. So the Kalergi plan that we looked at earlier is coming out of the House of Habsburg. And they developed the Pan-Europe movement. So all this immigration, all this African immigration especially, is coming from Habsburg in part with the Kalergi plan. You know, the influx of the Muslims here has not been for that. That's a separate gig. And that was pulled in by the British Empire, of course, specifically Windsor bunch, Battenberg bunch. So that's your Dutch as well, the East Indias, in order to set up the scene for the battle between the Zionist Christians and political Islam. So the two different gigs, remember, the African influx and the Muslim influx. So there you go. Domenico Kudenov-Kalergi and the Countess Barbara Kudenov-Kalergi are current members of this family. Prince Yol Makonnen of Ethiopia, imperial family of Ethiopia, is descended from the Roman Byzantine emperors via his mother. They're the ones bigging up the Africans that are coming over there. They're more special than they ever were. So Ethiopia's in the gig, people. Yeah, there you got a bit of data about him. Raimundo Perez Y. Rockefeller, a member of the Rockefeller family. So in here you get to see where the Rockefellers come from. And remember, they're only branch managers, these boys. And so this Raimundo Perez Rockefeller, a member of the Rockefeller family, served as Grand Master of the Order of Malta. The Rockefellers originally from the Rockefeller family, tracing back to the 1000s, so that's time of the conquerors. The Carolingian takeover of the Western Aryan monastery system. And then you've got, the Roquefoules come from a very old French noble family of knightly extraction, whose earliest records are found in 988. So this is after the Carolingians have took over. When Saint Fulcran, Bishop of Ludwig, well known for his acts of charity, donated his share of the Chateau Roquefort to the monastery of Saint Pierre de Nantes. And this is when the Carolingians have took over and reversed the Benedictine doctrine that was here in Aryan Christendom. There you've got the Purs and the cross as the symbol, and the Maltese cross there under his little bib. Obviously when he was eating them Purs he made a mess. The noble Rockwell family possessed numerous castles and they had great importance back and still now. So American people think they're American Rockefellers. So of Blanquefort, Du Bosquet, Montepero, Cahuzac, Anduze, Versol, Saint Etienne, that's the Rockefellers, ladies and gentlemen, before they went anywhere near the land that we know as America. And there's one of the critters, Standard Oil and all your fancy synthetic chemistry. And this is the house of the Magi. And it ties back to the Breakspears. I've mentioned the Breakspears before. They used to control the British Isles until the Pallavicini, or foreigners through the Pallavicini, put the House Stanley on these isles. Then Breakspear family upped and went to China. And the Breakspear family are an English Illuminati clan that originated in Italy and took the name from the Lancelotti family. Lance means spear, and the Italian word for rotti means to break. Lancerotti is another Italian variation of the more commonly used Lancelotti family name. The Breakspear family produced only one English pope in history, who was Pope Adrian IV, or Nicholas Breakspear. Pope Adrian IV issued the papal bull Laudabilita, ordering the Normans of England to invade Ireland, which they did, and bring it under papal Roman authority, which they also did. This is why Ireland is predominantly Roman Catholic today. Cardinal Bosso Breakspear was a relative of Pope Adrian IV and both Italian and English. The musician Cindy Breakspear fathered Damian Marley with Bob Marley. Like Lancelotti, the Breakspear, the Italian Magi family, used spears on their coat of arms. Who else uses spears, or they call them arrows? Breakspear or Lancelotti is also where the character of Lancelot comes from in the legend of Arthur, so created through Eleanor of Aquitaine. not the original. Prince William Windsor's middle name is Arthur, and he is likely to be next in line to the throne. But it's a different Arthur that they're talking about. They're talking about what Eleanor of Aquitaine did, of course. The House of Magi were a nobility from the commune in Brescia, Italy, right next door to the commune of Merlino, all within the province of Lombardy. Magi or Magi both mean a magician or wizard, just like Merlin and Morlino. Yeah, but you see, they're tying it in with Merlin and the original Arthur. No, they fucked all that up through Eleanor of Aquitaine because everybody in England wanted the return of Arthur. So they had to try and blag it. So they're mixing it up here. It's a little bit not quite right, but never mind. You get the gig. So where are we? In Arthurian legend, the Magi family settled in Switzerland and became wealthy after Julius Magi merged his Magi soup and seasoned his company with Nestlé. The Magi family also settled into Brazil, establishing the Amagi soybean group owned by Blairo Magi, who is worth about 960 million, I'll bet. The Illuminati bloodlines are ancient and they go back for thousands of years. The Magi family likely go back to Persia and India and derive their name from the Magi and Magi. The Magi are also a term used for the followers of Zoroastrianism, which derived from Persia, Iran. Okay? So that's just another bunch of Johnny-come-latelys that people need to be aware of. And then now, the real game, which is basically the focus of tonight's gig, because now we need to know, what are they playing at? What are they really doing? Because you get into this and realise and understand this, then you can see that Russia is a buffer, but all these NATO bases have got nothing to do with the West, apart from the fact that we've paid for them and the people by Western people. But that's going to change. Those bases are a second front to prevent the West from getting to the new and real New World Order, that is China, India, BRICS, Russia, and any other two-bit tit that wants to join it, like Iran. Yeah? We've got to see this game, people, because this is what's happening. And if you're a military boy, you need to start getting this in your mind, because this is where the real war is. So this is a map that has been created, Pentagon's new map. I think it was created in 2003 after 9/11. So 9/11 were a big game changer in all respects. Now I did put a video up on a few of my platforms early in the week to show you the kind of mindsets we're dealing with when it comes to the military-industrial complex and the way they're playing the game, and have been seeing the game since 2003. It wasn't to big him up as some kind of hero. It was to show you what kind of wankers are running all things military. Because it's not what you think. Now, they've broken up the world as a map into two areas. The core, which is Northern America, Canada, Europe, and Siberia. And then you can see the squiggle line here. That's called the gap area. Now, if you're found in the gap area today, you're going to be murdered. Which is why they're all fleeing into the core area. So if you live in the core area, you have to accept this migration and debt and hell, according to this new game, okay? So this is War and Peace in the 21st century, the Pentagon's new map. Alright? But first, let's just have a little look at these black nobility families and just get another insight into what we're dealing with, and that is the owners of the banks are the black nobility, and they themselves are subject to a powerful illusion associated with black magic and worship of the deities they believe in. Now, there we've got a coin of Caesar after Caesar's death, commemorating that he's ascended in the same manner as they've afforded to the Jesus. It says, above is the Divius Julius coin showing Julius Caesar's sidereal apotheosis, following his assassination and minted by his heir Octavius Augustus. Note the comet signifying the ascendancy of Julius Caesar's soul. So they assassinated him, but they loved what he was about, because that's exactly what Rome became. And there you have a couple of links if you want to further that. The earliest of the black nobility recorded ancestors created their empire, and they are obliged to continue with the plan on pain of disinheritance, excommunication, or death, whether they like it or not. They have been brought up to play their part in such opulent circumstances that they cannot imagine being any other way. They bred or beat empathy out of themselves generations ago, and they educate their children to continue the family traditions and beliefs. The list of modern descendants is large, comprising some 6,000 individuals or more. They are, amongst others, the Ghibellines, who supported the whole Roman Empire, or emperors, the Hohenstaufen family, and the Guelphs, or Welfs, the German prince who competed with Frederick for control of the Holy Roman Empire, and includes the British royal family, because they're Este, Wettin, Saxe-Coburg, Battenbergs, same gig. Now, that happened in the Middle Ages. The Guelphs were successful. The Ghibellines were supposedly defeated. Well, what they represented was defeated, but what you can actually see when you get into it is they amalgamated. They were the Teutonic Knights in what became the Prussian Empire. In essence, the Holy Roman Empire as opposed to the Church. So that's just a little bit of history there of the black nobility. But they are Venetians, remember. The Giustiniani family, black nobility of Rome and Venice, who traced their lineage to the Emperor Justinian. Again, a Byzantine emperor. Sir Jocelyn Hambro of Hambro's Merchant Bank. Pier Paolo Luzzati Fiquis, whose lineage dates back 6 centuries to the most ancient Luzzatos, the black nobility of Venice. Umberto Ortolani of the ancient black nobility family of the same name. The Doria family, the financiers of the Spanish Habsburgs. Elie de Rothschilds of the French Rothschild family. Baron August von Fink. Now, Larry Fink, what's he running? Yeah, BlackRock. All these things, yeah, this is who they are, these people. And he's the second richest man in Germany, but now deceased. Franco Orsini Bonacassi, of the ancient Orsini black nobility that traces his lineage to the ancient Roman senator of the same name. Further details of the Orsini family and relatives can be found at that link. The Alba family, whose lineage dates back to the great dukes of Alba. Baron Pierre Lambert. Now the Lamberts are a very powerful family. They were quite potent in Burnley. I'm not sure whether they're still there or not, but they may be. A cousin of the Belgian Rothschild family. Another very interesting document which I came across by accident looks like the black nobility in detail, naming families and individuals. There is another link. The black nobility relocation to Astana in Kazakhstan has already begun. That's where the new financial centre that was afforded to London is gone and going. It's not completely there yet, which is why so many of these guys being brought over, these soldiers, and they're using the Barbers system in the same way the Italian mafia use Pizza Huts and that the Muslims use takeaways. They're using the Turkish barber system. They're not Turkish, they're from Kazakhstan. So there's the network they're setting up there. That's another military operation so that when they shift it directly to Kazakhstan, what is London, they've got the soldiers here as well. Are you seeing the game now? Now, I've met a lot of these guys, and do you know what? They're really nice guys. They seem to be really decent people, the Kazakhs themselves. But they're under the auspices of Russian dominance. It's the Russians, the Putins, that dominate Kazakhstan. So they're protecting this move, is Putin. That's what he's doing. Of what was London into Kazakhstan, okay? Now, Kazakhstan had a major rebellion either last year or the year before. And it was put down by a shoot-to-kill policy by the Russians that moved in straight away to put it down. So there's definitely, in Kazakhstan itself, a rebellion against this move that's being made. But they were so bloodletting, the Russians, which they will be, because this is London moving, the bloodlines moving. What they have had in London since the Civil War in England, you guarantee they're going to protect it. You've got Russia protecting it, And all these NATO bases that we believe are ours, no. Second front, protecting this shit that's going on at the other side, Russia. Get that into your minds, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Now, the place that they're using in Kazakhstan to rebuild London is called Astana. And it has a dedicated financial district in which the official language is English, suggesting preparation for the global power of the old city of London to relocate there. They also boast an independent judiciary, similar to that enjoyed by the three independent globalist cities, Vatican City, of London and Washington, D.C. Yeah? So they're building another temple. Inner temple, middle temple. Judiciary. English language. Astana. And when the Kazakhstanis rebelled, they were a shoot-to-kill policy. Right? Hamlet Linden, not too long ago, Thomas P.M. Barnett outrun meetings between top Wall Street analysts and top Pentagon brass that pondered the future of the world. The financial folks were mostly excited by the potential of China because they control it. The military folks were mostly worried by the potential of China. The year was 2000. The meeting took place atop World Trade Center 1. Very shortly after that, China would be about the last thing the Pentagon's officials were worrying about. So, after this meeting, or up until that meeting, the financial folks were excited by China. The military folks were worried about China. But after this meeting in 2000, that all changed. It all changed, and what do we know happened after that? All focus went onto Muslims in a cave. Did it not? Can you see? So this meeting there, and this guy, Thomas P.M. Barnett, who's the guy that presented the video I put on my platforms last week, for you to watch, to get an insight into what they're playing at, was the man that changed this. And if you watched it, you can see clearly the guy's a complete arsewipe. Okay? He says, very shortly after that, China would be about the last thing the Pentagon officials were worrying about. And many of the Wall Street analysts sitting around the table would be dead. Okay? So you can see 2000, massive change of strategy. Both financial and militarily. And of course, to deplete the United States military, 9/11. To start to creep in the martial law in the Western world, you got the Patriot Act. Here, we got the Contingency Act. And every other nation in the West got its same. Can you see that that's what went on in 2000? Okay? So Alex Jones, all these super creeps, they're on the side of this new gig. Alright? That's what you need to work out if you're an American. In the months after 9/11, Thomas Barnett left his post as senior strategic researcher at the Naval War College. He became the assistant for strategic futures in the Department of Defense's newly created Office of Force Transformation. His task was nothing less than creating a grand vision of US strategy in a profoundly changed world. Don't we have one? Isn't it written down and kept at a locked drawer somewhere deep in the Pentagon? Barnett wondered out loud. Nope, his boss told him. That was his gig. What eventually came out of that assignment was Pentagon's new map, a much-read Esquire article published in 2003, just as coalition forces were poised to cross into Iraq. It became a 2004 best-selling book of the same name, spelling out a unique and powerful way of looking at the world. And we all know now today, do we not, how they got us into Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. So this is basically the new map. So in the pink is called the gap countries. They're all, that's the area of the world that's going to be depopulated. If you stay, you're going to get murdered. That's it. There's no integrating in those countries. So they've got plans for that area, that landmass, okay, for the New World Order. In the core, which is the northern part, that's North America, Canada, Mexico, Europe, or Northern Europe, Siberia, China, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam. That's where the destruction's coming. But that's where they're going to kick the war off between Zionist Christians and political Islam. Okay? And what will be left there, suggesting, would be the Negroids. That are going to hopefully breed with all the white women through rape, if the white guys and the native-born black guys of the West are stupid enough to go and fight these fucking wars for this fucking priesthood. Can you see the picture, people? And the grand strategy has 3 tenets. The core, which is where we all are, and the non-integrating gap. So that's the future. They're seeing the future as the landmass of the non-integrating gap. The core areas are up for being demolished through whatever, nuclear war, biological, chemical, and whatever else they can get in there. And it says, 1, work across core to improve ability to withstand and mitigate 9/11-like system perturbations. So they're having a right good play up there. Preserving the core to grow the core. And 2 is discreetly firewall off the core from the gap's worst exports, which is pandemics, narcotics, and terror. Alright? Can you see what NATO bases are now? Put your military mind on and look at the NATO bases. Isn't it telling you a different picture now? And 3, shrink the gap by exporting security to worse security sinkholes located there. When necessary, regime change, nation building, employing forces optimised for both efforts. This is your Eric Prince, your private security forces that are being created. Russia's creating its own, isn't it? The A to Z rules set needed. Front half, back half. And you've got front half UNSC as a grand jury, the functioning executive, and the US-enabled Leviathan force. So they plan to use the UN military might to their aims, and they've called it Leviathan force. And that front half logically arises from the G8. So the G8 are in control of those 3 functions. Now on the back half, which is still an error coming in from the top, from the front half, decision power based on funds committed. Okay? And then you've got the core-enabled CIS-admin force. So that's UN military, humanitarian, displacement, etc. Your child trafficking networks, yeah? You've got the IRF, the International Reconstruction Fund, and the International Criminal Court. But circled, no political imagination or will across core until this force has proven it can succeed. Now remember, this Third World War that I've spoken about, that we can now see is being promulgated to begin in the Middle East. Let's remind ourselves of the Third World War strategy. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. This war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be so constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. Well, look what they're doing with the Ukraine, how they're pumping all our money out. Yeah? Resources, finance. Can you see how and morally, we haven't got to them points just yet, but that's kicking off now with these immigrants. This is how they're going to destroy us, by getting us to a point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. Can you see the game? The war's on, people. Don't just be looking for bullets and bombs. This is the war. Everything that's going on. The climate, the rules and regulations, all this stuff is this Third World War. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of their most bloody turmoil. The multitude disillusioned with Christianity will receive the true light through the universal Jesuit Vatican II system, the manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out into the public view. Well, they're doing it now. Just go back to Abe Finkelstein's interview. which is also the externalization of the hierarchy as presented through Blavatsky. So we're getting now to see what have been hiding all these years in relation to how the hierarchy actually operates. So you've got the filth, bestiality, the homosexuality, this transgender shit, the fact that most of our politicians' wives are fellas, and vice versa. Yeah? We're now getting the externalization of how the hierarchy really is. And they're shoving it down our neck. And this will follow, so this unleashing the nihilists and atheists will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Well, they've done a good job of destroying Christianity, because most people that claim to be Christians today are actually Zionists. So that's a done deal, isn't it? The Catholic Church has been completely annihilated as a power. And there is Albert Pike and Massimo, and the letter from the guy on the left to the guy on the right is where we get this 3 World War strategy. Now, back to this Leviathan force here, which is what they're turning the US into, right? It says, the Leviathan force can come under the International Criminal Court based if it does... I'll start that again. The Leviathan force can't come under the International Criminal Court because if it does, then the countries involved in this activity, basically the US and the Brits, and the others who increasingly join us in special operations stuff, so that's Germany, France, it's Sweden, simply won't be willing to do it anymore. Okay? So if it came under the international... So basically this Leviathan force can do what it wants. It's not operating under any international law. Because if it did, then the people involved in it it'd collapse, because everything they're doing is in the breach of international criminal law. Yeah? You understand that? So that's the Leviathan force. Cannot come under the International Criminal Court. Otherwise, all the people involved would say, fuck off. You're asking us to break international law. So keep that in mind, soldiers, if you're in there. You're breaking every single law that as humanity we've set up in the last 300, 400 years. All we need to do is make sure that the only countries that join us in Leviathan activity are the ones that can police their own war. War crimes, rather. So the only countries they want in, like our aristocracy, these Tossers, Cameron, etc., are the ones that can police their own war crimes through effective military law. You get that? You're soldiering today, guys. This is what you're under. You're not playing any part in proper stuff. You're a ragtag, mercenary, murdering force, basically. And that's not hard. The CISA admin must come under the ICC purview, because it is not the SWAT team but the community police force that must effectively segue into the local nation, developing that capacity on its own. So the community police forces have to be as twisted and as fucked up as these hardcore murderers. Now we can see that, can't we, today? Our police are nothing like they used to be. Yeah? So the community police force that must effectively segue into the local nation, developing that capacity on its own. Again, separate war issues from peace ones. The Pentagon's New Map, War and Peace in the 21st Century is a 2004 book by Thomas P. M. Barnett, based around an earlier article he wrote for Esquire magazine. It outlines a new grand strategy for American foreign policy. It is an iteration of PowerPoint presentation that Barnett has been making for years that is known simply as the brief. Interested parties include the public and private sectors encompassing military organisations and foreign governments. The key points. Systems of rules called rule sets reduce violent conflict. Violence decreases as rules are established. E.g., the WTO dispute settlement understanding for dealing with international conflicts. So World Trade Organization is basically, yeah, running the gig. The world can be roughly divided into two groups: the functioning core, characterised by economic interdependence, and the non-integrated gap, characterised by unstable leadership and absence of international trade. So that's all Africa, South America, deliberately made to be unstable. So all your juntas, all these people, they haven't got in by accident. They're not there to rebel. They've been put there to keep things unstable. And no international trade, keeping them in poverty. Yeah, that drives the immigration agenda. The core can be subdivided into old core in North America, Europe, Japan and Australia, and the new core, which is China, India, South Africa, Brazil and Argentina, Chile and Russia. So they've got two cores. The core can be subdivided into the old core, which of course they're dismantling, remember that, being North America, Europe, Japan and Australia. See, our countries are up for demolition, people, because we're classed as the old core. Because the real New World Order is the new core. China, India, South Africa, Brazil, Argentina, Chile and Russia. So South Africa, they are going to kill all the whites. Make no mistake about it. Because the new core will be black South Africans, Brazilians, Argentina, which is why you've got this penis in now, Chile and Russia. Russia, yeah, is going to be the lead force militarily, I would suggest. But it'll get its hardware from China. The disconnected gap includes the Middle East, South Asia, except India, and most of Africa, Southwest East Asia and Northwest South America. So the Middle East is in this disconnected gap. Murder. You're going to be murdered. And I'm not seeing anything here about Arabs here, unless they're being included in the Middle East. Makes you look at this, these floods that have just been happening. Are they actually because they were playing about with weather mapping? Or as a bigger fish made what they were doing in a gentle way turn into something nasty? Because that's the gap area. So that the disconnected gap area, which is just going to be murder, no international trade, etc. Unstable governance, is the Middle East, South Asia, except India. India's going to play a big game in this new core gig. Americans, Australians, New Zealand, Brits, Europeans, wake the fuck up right now, because everything we class as NATO is going to be taken over by this new core. So that's Chinese, Indians, South Africans, Brazilians, Argentinians, Chileans and fucking Russians. You see the game now. 3. Integration of the gap countries into the global economy would provide opportunities for individuals living in the gap to improve their lives, thereby presenting a desirable alternative to violence and terrorism. The US military is the only force capable of providing the military support to facilitate this integration by serving as the last-ditch rule enforcer. So as big as China and Russia are, you don't even come close to the mass of the American military. The fact that the American military has been completely taken over through these bloodlines has to be the only game on the table for true Americans. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Alex Jones. They're shilling. They're operating for these bloodlines. You've got to see it, America. You get your military back. Because they're making it clear here, it's the only operation that can do it. Now, of course, this is back in 2003. It's been depleted in a massive way since then, as has the UK military force. But that's basically what they've got. They've got, and they're using you in order to dismantle you to bring in this new core. Same with the Brits. We have to see this. And it's so dependent on them getting a war going in the Middle East to get all our boys, Western born, out. And then that Kalergi plan, you're just going to have Negroid flea bags everywhere because they were children of rape by these crazy fuckers that they're bringing in from Africa. You can see how they're going to do it. That's the plan, and it's working very, very well. Barnett argues that it's been doing so for over 20 years by exporting security. US spends about half the world's total in military spending. 4. To be successful, the US military must stop thinking of war in the context of war, but war in the context of everything else, i.e. demographics, energy, investment, security, politics, trade and immigration. 5. In recognition of its dual role, the US military should organise itself according to 2 functions, the Leviathan and the system administrator. But only until the new core takes over. Remember that, America. Leviathan's purpose is the use of overwhelming force in order to end violence quickly. It will take out governments, defend core countries, and generally do the deterrence work that the US military has been doing since the end of World War II. The Leviathan force is primarily staffed by young aggressive personnel and is overwhelmingly American. You Americans need to rethink. The system administration's purpose is to wage peace. Peacekeeping, nation building, strengthening weak governments, etc. The system administration force is primarily staffed by older, more experienced personnel, though not entirely. He would put the Marines in sysadmin as the mini-me Leviathan. The sysadmin force would work best as a corps-wide phenomenon. By exporting security, the US and the rest of the Corps benefit from increased trade, increased international investment, and other benefits. Now that was to get this gig going. Now it's reversing, aren't they? Now they're destroying trade. They're destroying the food game for this social catastrophe that we saw in the 3 World War strategy. So now this is something I put together this week, and I just thought, this is what we need to be thinking like. And the new movie is coming to a cinema near you. The Holy See presents Forget the Real Flags. Because the only fucking flags on the table is Israel and Hamas. And I'm sick to the fucking teeth of those flags. Because while everybody's focused to that, we're forgetting the real motherfucking flags. Which is England, Scotland, America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. And of course Ireland. Missing. And the European nations' individual flags. But they're the core flags that at the moment are being used to end up destroying ourselves. And I wrote, the Eurovision saga and the current script in general is to have the clueless coward believe that if they fail to support Israel, then the Jews will leave you to the Muslims. The reality is the Empire HQ has sailed out of London. All the elites require now is to kickstart the war they have planned between political Islam and Zionist Christendom, in order that the elites can remove the biggest enemies without having to lift a finger, save for pressing the yes-no button for the issuance of credit to each side to fight that very war. The Western New World Order is fake. The Eastern New World Order is the real one. If the natives of the British Isles, Europe, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand do not pull back the nations through the laws that secure them, constitutional law, by forcing every politician and civil servant back under that law, and to disallow their current act of these people in the dishonouring of that law, by honouring first corporate contracts they have with the EU, UN and NATO et al. Then whether you take a side or not, the war they need will come about by default. It is the power to start the Third World War that will decide the commencement of the Great Cull. The real mover they need for this is to persuade the white males and black males born here to leave their women folk behind and go and fight for the priesthood against Russia or in the Middle East or both. This agenda is in place. It matters not whether it begins under Donald Trump, who is of course King Cyrus, the Zoroastrian, or whichever leftist lunatic of your choice holds the seat of government in all aforementioned nations by the end of this year. 2024 is the year of Western elections. And so to all you males out there, it's time to fucking grow up and let go of the cowardice running riot among Western males. And that is a fucking fact. If that doesn't come to pass, then this real game that we've just explored is going to continue and it's going to move to its fruition, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't care much for your offspring, then sit back, watch Coronation Street, play with yourself and have your barbecues. And then one day, all that'll stop. And you'll be lost. You won't want to play with yourself anymore. And you'll have the jackboot at your fucking door, taking away your offspring to go and fight for Johnny Priesthood. And that, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much heads up. Maybe let's say the last 20 live streams that we've done. In essence, we can see the plan, the game, and it's been going on for quite a long time, has it not? So, where are we? Where are you guys on that? Did it make sense to you? Leah Betts. One side says, the New Testament has God declared himself to be the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last revelation, 22:13 KGV, and see also 1:8. Well, if you go back to what we presented last week, exactly, that mimic that they've created there in that is exactly, so this return of Jesus is return of that they've pinned on the fucking cross. They've took a piece of your estate. You haven't noticed. And they're going to return on it. Keep it in mind, folks. Jerry says, I wouldn't be worried about the crime gangs from Ireland, mentioned particularly the Limerick crew. But what I'm trying to point out is, you know, crime now today, it's all coming under the police intelligence operations. The mafias that I've pointed out have been the facilitators of that. Because if you set up your own in your own local area, you're still buying off them because they're the wholesale. So they know who you all are. You know what I'm saying? So if you were moving to militia mind, you were creating crews, you'd have to make sure they weren't connected to any of them. It's worth noting who it is that's at the higher point that have been playing this game on behalf of the Bloodlines. The game ain't over, folks. The game is only just beginning. Thanks for that, Jerry. Nouveau Laredo, great research, Sean. I'm thinking London School of Economics, very Fabian. Absolutely, same gig. Come out of Adelphi House. Programme the left wing of the bird against the right wing of the bird. Both sides of the same coin being flicked by the banker. It's always been so. Think about the double-headed eagle, the imagery of it. Left and right, both sides, same. Same. Controlled by the same. You can see these mafias, all these bloodlines are controlling them at the wholesale level. Back to Abe Finkelstein. He tells you why and how they've got control. They supply the wholesale of everything. They don't mind if you build yourself up as a bit, you still retail. You still need to go to them to buy whatever it is you're selling. Well, it's the same in the mafias. It's the same in everything. There's wholesale and everything else beneath that is retail. You've got to understand this language now as that. And focus to when you live. If you're watching these things, don't waste your time fannying on. Listen. And if you're losing interest, stop the fucking video and come back to it when you're ready to focus. Because you miss everything. You miss everything. The Borg, indeed. Funny that people, particularly you're saying on GB News, gave us a good cover on the big protest we had here last week. Same bird though. Of course, Paul Marshall, DeBalkin is. Same fucking bunch. Jerry. Mr. Five-Year-Old, Satan is shit. Nouveau Laredo. How did we get here? Certainly a devious plan by some psychopath. How did we get here? Because everybody's fucking stupid and wants to play out and not concern themselves with this stuff. You see, people are only interested if it doesn't mean they have to do it themselves. If you want revolution, if you want change, you are it. You are that change. You know, you get into all these fruitcakes out there like Jones, Tate, Tucker. What's that other fucking dickhead? The guy that's got all fucking MMA, UFC guys upped because they're fucking daft. Rogan, they're presenting it to you as though you don't have to do fuck all because they're doing it for you. And they're not doing fuck all apart from diverting you off the real game. But you're happy with that because you're entertained. You're entertained. You can't be asked to do anything, so it won't get done. You're cowards in the main, so it's not going to get done. And that's reality. I'm not here slagging you off, I'm telling you as it is. Because when you start to take responsibility for it as it is, and not pretend it's, because that's how I want to be, then you'll change things. Because you're a fucking act that's going to make it change. And until that happens, you are the Borg. Even if you've watched this show, you're still the fucking Borg. Because you're not doing fuck all. So there you go. Look in the fucking mirror if you're looking for the problem. Yeah, we have Magi Noodles here in Australia, says Nouveau Laredo. Get into the nitty gritty, the big picture. Okay. Jerry says, yes, Nouveau, but we now see the game once pitting people against each other. We're still at it today. Exactly. Look at where the problem is. The problem is the people in suits that are implementing this. The next problem is the people in uniforms that are protecting the fucking people in suits that are implementing this. Just think about what happened to you 4 years ago. Who were the people in your town that had all the police around them shutting your fucking business? We had one female bitch here doing it. She's the problem. And the uniforms protecting her are the second problem. And going through these bloodlines as we are, you can see that they're all working for them. Because they're all protecting them. The suits are implementing it for them. The uniforms are protecting it for them. Because they're too fucking stupid to know their ass from the fucking elbow. That's where it's at, ladies and gentlemen. And I put a piece on my Facebook exactly showing that. You know, the people that suffered Stalin weren't telling you to attack Stalin. We were saying no. Stalin only has the power because of the minions at the bottom that are carrying it out for him. Deal with the minions at the bottom. Stalin has no fucking power. We're in civilized countries. We have law. In England, we have the ability to create militia and arrest these people. America has it, Australia has it, New Zealand has it, Canada has it. I don't know whether Europe has it. But until you start thinking about, actually, I am the change, and not I'm just going to watch Joe Rogan and then play with myself because Joe's doing it. Joe's doing fuck all apart from feeding you with shit. And the fact that he's got all the fucking warriors that were going to be needed for this game sucking out of his ass because they're fuck all either. Clever stuff. Clever stuff. But until you realise that when you look in that mirror, you are that fucking change. There ain't going to be any change. Well, that's just shut up. Jerry says, you should look up Kazakhstan, unbelievable place and wealthy looking, the immaculate place. That is the new London. Of course it's going to be fantastic. Anthony Morris, haha, Astana Financial Centre has its own Death Star. Excellent. You're getting it. Mr. Five Road, Fomorians. Solvimist, hi Sean, hello Solvimist. Evening and welcome. Jerry says, the World Bank, the administrating king. Well, that's the IMF. We're talking about the financial centre. He's moving from London to Kazakhstan. Yep. It's where it's going. Astana. Start to look it up. Start to spread the word. Put it about everywhere. People call it a prophetic letter. It's not. It was a plan exactly. We are seeing it all right. Good. Great Info says, new viral alert. Good. Star Wars the movie and the stormtroopers have been tricked into attacking their own by the Empire. Because people don't think. There's no logical thinking going on anymore. People are swooning on bullshit and bollocks and emotion. We've been through all this before. You're welcome, Jerry. Anaxian, the ignorant... Step 1, bring armies of youth Muslim men into the country. But, again, it's not specifically just the Muslims. You've got the Muslims here who happen to be peaceful, but you've got the fruitcakes in the mosque saying, this is what Islam says. 98% of all fucking Muslims I know have never even read the book. They haven't got a clue what it means to be a Muslim. They haven't got a clue what it says in Quran. They haven't got a clue what it says in Hadith and Surah. Like most people that say I'm a Christian, they've never read the fucking Bible. The only people that have read all their own literature are the Jews. Why? Because they're the chosen. So they're going to read it all if it tells them that they're fucking is. Yeah, you're chosen by the bloodlines, guys. Because it looks like there's a timestamp older than you. Puppets, like everybody else. Where are we? Smashing episode. Good. Step 3, watch Coronation Street and EastEnders. And Love Island. You must get that in. If you want to make change in this world today, you better watch fucking Corrie and EastEnders. Because it's fucking important. Top Gear as well, don't forget. And if you're a real fucking Special Forces, Emmerdale. Yeah, get a bit of Emmerdale going on Peppa Pig. That will fucking teach you everything you need to know. You'll be SAS'd up to fuck. I'm telling you now. Solomon says, the media in Australia have been promoting a stabby society in its news reports. Anarchian, you can see I'm your subscriber number 34. Jerry says, I get that on the cruise, Sean. You bang on. On the informant side of those gangs, yes, 100%, and they're double crossing. Exactly. But looking, it's good that all this foot soldier stuff's coming back up, because there's always been real guys on England that were prepared to be their own men. But even they're now recognising that, no, it all got obliterated because of the fucking police intelligence, which is special forces. It's good that people are seeing this. I'm subscribed. June. It's because our Constitution and Bill of Rights was taken. It hasn't been taken. It's been taken away from education. It's still there. It's still there to be used. Do people use it? No, they go, look what they've done to us now. And then go and watch Captain. Don't you? So, because our Constitution and Bill of Rights was taken away from our education, so yeah, they might have done it, but we've let them. It's still there. They haven't taken it away. They've stood up and said, right, you can't use that anymore, and we've all gone, oh, alright then. Well, I fucking haven't. I've been doing this a fucking long time. And I've caused fucking all the havoc. But because all you out there just go, he's a fucking dick. And on occasion go, oh, he's alright. Fuck off, I'm going to pub. They managed to wipe the fucking floor with people like us because we're one. On our fucking own. Yeah. Fucking no idea. And I'm talking to you. I'm saying I've been doing this. Not talking it. I've only started talking it on this fucking thing 4 years. Because I was doing it. And none of you give a fuck. And most people that knew about it just think I was fucking crazy. No. You're the fucking crazy ones. You're fucking stupid. You're dumb as fuck. I'm talking it now after I've done everything I could until I've no toys left to do anything apart from this. I've spent all my fucking toys doing it. Gone. So I do have a bit of authority, actually. Remain silent about all this wrong, blah, 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 blah. Comment around and reach massive, blah, 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 blah. I know. Teletubbies, says entitled. Well, and on that note, I'll say thanks for joining, thanks for taking part. Hope it made sense to you. Pretty much caps it off, folks, as to what the fuck's going on. Probably a very, very important day to spill this one tonight, so I hope you move parts of it that you think are important, because it's fucking important. And I'll tell you what we'll do tonight. We'll leave on this instead of the initial end. We'll leave it on this one. Thanks for joining. Till the next time.
It starts with Israel attacking Iran. The plan is for either Iran or for China to retaliate after Iran is struck with a nuclear weapon. At that point, there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, followed by a ceasefire. He heard this being planned in this meeting. This is being choreographed. The idea is that as the world looks upon this with horror, then they will demand from their governments that there are heavy controls over travel, over communication, over people who meet, over people who protest in the streets. And because people will be driven into fear by this, they'll request and demand and insist on heavy controls from their governments, which will be justified. And this is where you're going to kind of get the martial law situation in all the Western countries.
Think quite carefully about the description. Think quite carefully about the description. Think quite carefully about the description.
Say no.
Male goes to war. The women will be left to subcultures.
Think quite carefully about the description.
They simply say no. And that's what we all should do, because this will end if we simply say no. And that's what we all should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. And that's what we're here to do today. They simply say no. And that's what we should do. Because this will end if we simply say no. No.
If the white male goes to war, the women will be left to the subculture.
And this is where you're going to kind of get the martial law situation in all the Western countries. And then, he said, then the real war starts.